Hey, what's up, beat hackers? In this week's video, I'm going to be teaching you the basics of how to begin DJing like Carl Cox. Now, the thing with DJs like Carl Cox and Richie Hawtins and people like that is they've got a different way to DJing to most. Most DJs just play one song, blend it into the next song and go back and forth. Whereas DJs like Carl Cox will do a completely different thing, and they will basically add lots of different elements to the track that's currently playing to kind of create a brand new track. It's kind of like taking one track and mixing different elements in till it just sounds like a completely different track, or giving it a completely different spin. Now, this can seem really complicated, so in this video I'm going to break it down and teach you some basic stuff that will get you into this kind of vibe of DJing. Hope that all makes sense. Let's do it. Hey guys, before we get into this video, I just wanted to say, if at any point you're watching this video thinking, oh, I wish I was a bit better at DJing, and you want to get 10 times better at DJing quickly, you can go and check out my website, Beginner DJ Lessons, where I've got a host of different lessons on there. If you go and check it out today, I've currently got some free training, so make sure you go and check it out at beginnerdjlessons.com. The other thing I wanted to say is this style of DJing I'm about to teach you with Carl Cox is basically like kind of creating new tracks on the spot. Now, if you love the idea of making new tracks and actually would love the idea of actually getting into producing your own dance music, I've got a full training course teaching people exactly how to do that as well. And at the moment, I'm currently giving away some free training on that as well. So underneath this video, there's a link for edmcoaching.com where I'm currently doing some free live training teaching people all about making amazing electronic dance music. So if you want to go and check that out, click the button below as well. Okay guys, so let's get straight into it. So essentially, all I'm going to be teaching you in this video is to have one track playing and how to add different elements into that track to add to the track that is currently playing. So we're going to be adding in things like hi-hats that will give it a bit more swing, maybe a clap, maybe some other ambient noise as well, just with the intention of adding to the track that's playing, okay? And that's kind of all we're doing at this point. Now, I've got a couple of different samples. If you hang on to the end of the video, I'm going to show you where I got those samples from and how to make them yourself. You see, when it comes to DJing like this, it's all about experimenting. You have to find your own tracks, you have to find your own samples, practice playing around with them, and that's where the fun comes in. It's kind of endless, this, of all the different things you can do. And all I'm really doing here is giving you a couple of examples to kind of get you going. So we're going to be using 4 tracks. So we're going to be using all 4 lanes, okay? So I've got 2 tracks here, 1, 2, and then 3 and 4 there. As you can see on the screen, I've got all 4 tracks going on. On the main track, we're going to have a minimalistic kind of tech house track running. And then on all the other lanes, we're going to have elements that we can bring in and add to the song. When we add those elements to the song, we're going to play around with those elements by playing around with the filtering, playing around with different effects, and just generally just playing around and listening to it. I want you to start thinking of your DJ decks like an actual mixing board. So if you went into a huge studio, for example, where they were making music, you'd have a lane for drums, lane for hi-hats, and they'd have all these different EQs on each lane. What we're going to be doing is we're just going to be using our DJ decks in the exact same ways. We're going to start looking at them as this, as like an actual mixer. We're going to be bringing different elements in, filtering it, moving elements out of the way if we think 2 elements are clashing, adding different effects and playing around. So let's just get straight into it. The first track is track 1, where we've just got like a tech house track going. It's Carl Cox, the player, and I've just put a loop on it as well. So it's just very, very monotonous. It sounds a bit like this. Okay, the next track, we've got some hi-hats that sound a little bit like this. So I'm going to add them in. The next track we've got after that is just a clap, sounds like this. And then the third track over here is just a very kind of ambient noise. So what you could do is you could bring in some vocals, you could bring in like a synth. Now when you bring in something that's got a tone to it, like vocals or an instrument or anything like that, you have to make sure the key works with the track that you're currently playing around with. So the ambient noise I'm bringing in sounds a bit like this. Okay, perfect. So the first thing I'm going to do is just bring in the hi-hats. And the other thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to actually load in a couple of different hi-hats to show you how different hi-hats will completely change the vibe of a song. So let's just go ahead and do that. See how the different hi-hats can add completely different effects? But just so you know, my favourite is number 2. So I'm just going to load those in and I'm going to put a loop on them so they just stay there static the entire time. Next element I'm going to bring in is the clap. Next element I'm going to bring in is just the ambient noise, okay? And remember guys, at this point we're not really playing around with them, we're just bringing them in so they're all just running in the background like they are now. Awesome, so I've now got all the elements I'm going to be adding into this track just playing on loop, which is kind of what you want to do when you're starting out. We're just going to practice bringing in each of these different elements and kind of just playing around with the frequencies, thinking what frequencies are there, what do we need to boost, what do we need to cut. So, first things first, I know that the track that's playing has a hi-hat. If I take away the other instruments, you can hear, or take away the mids and the lows, you can hear the hi-hats more clearly. Now, I want to get those hi-hats out of the way to make my hat sound a lot cleaner. So, have a listen when I bring in the hi-hat and then I cut the highs from the original song. Notice how my hi-hats sound a lot cleaner and a lot more part of the track. The next thing I'm thinking is, do I need the lows in my hi-hats? I don't think so. So I've got rid of them as well. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to play around with the highs and the mids and the filter knob to see if I can create a different kind of tone to my hi-hats that I would prefer. Cool. The next thing I'm going to play around with is some different effects. So the one I'm going to be playing around with the most is echo. If I go to my effects section here, and you can see I've got a high pass filter, an echo and a phaser. I'm going to try just adding a bit of phaser onto my hi-hats and a bit of echo to see what it sounds like. In fact, I'm going to do it just while they're playing by themselves so you guys can really hear the effect it's having. Cool, so I've got a bit of a cool thing going on there, playing around with the phaser and turning on and off the delay. So let's have a listen to it in the mix. Awesome, the next effect I may want to bring in now is the clap. Now, to bring in the clap with a bit more emphasis, I'm going to filter out the bass on the main track that's playing. And then, when I bring the bass back in like a bit of a drop, I'm going to introduce the claps. Cool, we've got the clap in. Now I can play around with adding different effects to the clap as well. As we can see up here, I've got effects 1 and 2 on every single lane. Effects 2 are over here, effects 1 are over here. So I can press these buttons and say, well, I want this lane to be affected by effects 1, or 2, or both. I'm going to have both of these effects here, the hi-hats and the claps, affected by the effects on effect track 2, so these effects here. So anything I add will now affect the hi-hats and the clap. Let's check it out. Now I'm thinking, do I need all the frequencies in the clap? Let's try cutting the lows and playing around with the filter a bit. Cool, so as you can see, essentially what I'm doing is I'm just bringing in different elements and playing around with different effects and different filters, which is essentially all DJs like Carl Cox and stuff are doing. They're just bringing in new elements and playing around, just listening to their ears, thinking what sounds good, adding effects here, there, and just adding to it. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to begin the track, because as you know, it's just been on loop and I've just been adding effects in. But we want a bit more movement so it's not boring. So I'm going to put the track right to the beginning of the track, and I'm essentially just going to play around with adding different effects in right from the beginning of the track. So I'll add in the hi-hat, I'll add in the clap, I'll add in the ambient noise, then we'll just have a play around and see what it sounds like. So as you can see guys, I was just messing around there, playing around, adding new elements in and adding it to the track. Like I said, it's not your conventional type of DJing this. This isn't just having one song playing and then bringing another song in. It's about going out, finding different samples, different effects, different loops, and finding tech house tracks that you know those loops work well with. So when you're performing live, you're adding to the song that's playing rather than just playing a song. This type of DJing isn't for everybody. Some of you guys might be watching this thinking, that's so cool, I really want to go and get my hands on some samples and add to the track. Some of you guys might be watching it going, yeah, not my kind of DJing, and it's completely fine. It's just a new type of DJ which you can try. Works better if you've got more decks. If you've just got one song playing and one other deck, you're not going to be able to add in that much to the track. As soon as you have like a 4 deck mixer, you can start to add in even more elements as well. But really guys, it all just comes down to experimenting. So right now I'm going to jump on my computer and show you where I got all the different samples from, in case you guys are interested in having a play around with doing DJing just like this. Hey guys, I just jumped on the computer here to show you where I get all of my samples from, like hi-hats and stuff like that. I use a website called Splice. I'm not being sponsored by Splice or anything like that. It's a really cheap website. You can get tons of different samples on there. I'll just show you how easy it is to find a loop, for example, a hi-hat loop. But remember, you can use this to get claps, vocal samples, anything you want. Okay, so you just go to sounds here. You just click hi-hat up here in the search bar, search. You can select sample there. You can make sure you select loop, so it's a loop, it just loops round and round. Go to BPM, you can set it to 120 to maybe 130 BPM, something like that. Update that, and then you'll get all these different hi-hat loops here that you can just play and sample. Then when you find one that you like, it will only be a short kind of 4-second clip. So you can jump into a music production software like Ableton, get a shuffle sound or a hi-hat sound that may sound a bit like this, drag it into one of the lanes like this, and then you just literally drag it out like that for as long as you want, and you can see the numbers on here, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. When you've got 3 minutes of loop, you can just go up, file, export that, and there you have 3 minutes of just a hi-hat loop you can drop into your DJ decks and blend in with whatever song you want. Remember guys, if you want to know more about stuff like this, I can teach you. EDM coaching, there's a link underneath this video. Right, let's jump back on the decks. So there you go guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully now you've got a couple of ideas how you could potentially go out and begin to start adding tracks, different tracks, to create this kind of third track that the audience have never heard before. If you guys like these kind of videos, leave a comment, let me know what you think. I read all of my comments and I love to hear from you guys so I know how to improve my videos moving forward. Also, if you like the video, make sure you give it a massive thumbs up. Finally guys, I just wanted to say, if you love the way I teach and you want to see more DJ videos just like this, make sure you hit that button there and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, and hit the bell notification as well. If you guys want to go and see some free DJ training right now, hit that button down there. And finally, if you guys want to see how to do your first mashup on a computer program, click this button below. I'll see you guys in next week's video. Ciao!